friends, I'm Amy. I'm the Globetrotting Stitcher, and welcome back to our channel. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. Thanks so much for coming back to spend time with us today. If you are finding us for the first time, welcome. We're glad that you're here. We hope that you like what you see. Today is Saturday, December the 18th, so Christmas is 1 week away, people, which is hard to believe because I can't quite figure out what happened to 2021, but there we are. And today is sort of a rainy, blustery day in the Pacific Northwest, which is my favorite kind of day, so I'm enjoying the weather very much. I hope that you all have been well. We're a little bit behind our normal filming schedule because we've had we've had a rough couple of weeks in our family and a lot of stuff going on. We'll fill you in on that here in a minute, but we're happy to be back with you today. And so before we get into the stitching, I think just a couple of quick updates on some of the stuff that we've been up to and things that have been going on. So first of all, those of you who are returning and who saw our last video will remember that Gary was getting ready to go and visit his brother over in Providence for Thanksgiving week. He did do that. They had a really nice visit. I think he just really enjoyed having the chance to have a nice chunk of time with his brother and to visit some other family members. He also got the chance to see some friends he hasn't seen in a while, some really old friends, and so yeah, I think he just really enjoyed that, and it was really good for him. I was here at home holding down the fort, and things did not go to plan, as so often happens. So unfortunately, shortly before Thanksgiving, one of my mom's brothers passed away. And so she went to the Midwest for his funeral, and she actually came back. I picked her up at the airport when I dropped Gary off. It was very kind of like a fortuitous sort of passing of ships kind of a thing. And she wasn't feeling very well, so I took her home, and we kind of talked as a family, and we agreed that with Thanksgiving happening that week, that she needed to take a COVID test just to be on the safe side. Because we wanted to make sure that everybody that was going to be at Thanksgiving dinner was clear and safe. So she took her COVID test, and I think you all see where this is potentially going. And unfortunately, her test came back positive. Mom is fully vaccinated. Both my parents are fully vaccinated, as are Gary and I. And so, but what had happened is that apparently, unfortunately, my uncle's funeral, it turned out to be a little bit of like a mini super spreader event. And so quite a few people, both vaccinated and unvaccinated, got COVID at the funeral, including Mom. And so because she had just come home and she'd only been home a couple of hours, my dad is one of those folks that even fully vaccinated, we've been kind of concerned he's pretty vulnerable. And so we all agreed that just to kind of make sure he was going to be as safe as possible, that it would just make sense for me to bring Mom to stay with me since I was going to be home by myself that week anyway. So I got in my car and I tootled over to their house, and I got Mom and brought her here and installed her in the guest room, and with strict instructions not to open the door. And so Mom was with me while Gary was gone, and so yeah. So it was a bit of a stressful week, just, wanting to make sure that she was going to be okay. And unfortunately, as I said, a number of other folks did get sick at the funeral. And unfortunately, my mom's other brother ended up passing away the next week from COVID that he got at the funeral. And a couple of other aunts and uncles also got sick. I have another uncle who actually just this last week, just in the last couple of days, was moved out of ICU into a regular bed. So we were really worried about him for a while. And thankfully, it looks like is going to make as good a recovery as he can. But he will, it looks like he is going to have permanent lung damage to deal with. So it's been a really difficult couple of weeks. I mean, anytime a family goes through something like that and you have, multiple deaths in a family and, all of that stuff kind of going on, it's difficult. It's especially difficult, I think, when it happens during the holiday season. And so without Gary and I don't talk about these things a lot on these videos because you're here for stitching. You're not here for preaching. But I guess all I would say is, I hope that if not for your own sake, that for the sake of the people who love you, whether it's friends or family, I hope that if you're not vaccinated, you'll consider getting vaccinated, especially as we're in this holiday season where people are spending more time together indoors. That, you know, I just hope that you'll consider it if you haven't. If you haven't gotten your booster shot, I hope you will. Gary and I were really thankful that we had both had our booster shots before Mom got sick. And so she was able to stay with us for a couple of weeks, and we were both, thankfully, we did not get sick, even though we were taking care of her. And fortunately my dad didn't get sick, and so it didn't spread to anybody here once Mom came home. And so we're all really thankful for that. But yeah, it's a hard thing to go through. And this is the first time that throughout this pandemic, we've been really fortunate that, that COVID has not hit close to home for us. We've had a few folks more on the periphery of our lives, whether friends or extended family, who have fallen ill. We've known some folks who passed away as a result of COVID. So it certainly has touched our lives, but this is the first time in almost 2 years of this craziness that we're all surviving through, that it's hit close to home like that for us. And definitely a difficult season, but we're thankful. We're thankful to all be together. We're thankful that Mom has recovered and that she's doing well. She was able to go home. And so, yeah, we're moving in a good direction there as we head into Christmas here. But anyway, with all of that going on, we've kind of decided that we needed to put off filming by a couple of weeks. So that's why we're a little bit late in providing an update to you. I think one other kind of big thing that has happened in the last couple of weeks since we filmed is I had a birthday. And this year, with everything going on, we just decided to kind of keep it, I just wanted something, a quieter celebration. And so it was really nice because I got to have dinner at my favorite restaurant with my favorite guy, which all of you know is Gary. So we went out for sushi, which was really nice. It was just a real treat to get out and have a good meal and spend some time together. And then I also got a chance to spend an afternoon with some of my girlfriends, and then we had a family dinner. And so it was a pretty quiet birthday, but it was exactly what I needed this year, and I'm really thankful for that. And really thankful for Gary, because he always goes out of his way to make sure that I feel really special and celebrated on my birthday, which is just really sweet of him. And I got some stitchy goodness that I will be sharing with you a little bit later in the video. Some birthday love that I'm really happy about. So more on that later. All right, so let's get into the stitching, which is what we're all here for. So we have a couple of FFOs to share with you today. The first one, if you have been watching the last several videos that we've put out, you know that Gary had a pretty big finish within the last couple of episodes. And he has been working for a while on a chart called To Market by Hannah's Needlecraft that he stitched on a piece of 16 count beautiful beige Aida. And so this is during Thanksgiving week. I did find some time to do a little bit of finishing, and so this is one of the pieces that I worked on. So this is Gary's To Market. We put this in a nice wooden bamboo frame, it's not actual bamboo, but it's got the bamboo effect, and had a custom mat cut for it as well. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it's going to be. I think it's really pretty. This is one, so we ordered the frame as a custom frame from pictureframes.com, which is one of the 2 online retailers that I use when I'm ordering custom frames. And I've always been really pleased with the quality of the frames that I've received from them. And again, what's really nice is you go in, you pick your frame, you can upload a picture of your art so that you can kind of test it out in different frames, which is really nice. So it's a really great site. And then you can also, once you got your dimensions in there, you can select a custom mat or multiple custom mats. There's a lot of great options, and their interface is really easy to work with. I was a little bit anxious with this just because when I choose mats for a piece, I like to be able to lay the mat on the piece and kind of see how it's going to all look and work together. And you're a little bit limited in that by ordering online. And so I was like, oh gosh, is this mat really going to look good with this piece? So I was really pleased when it got here that it actually looked fantastic together, and it went together beautifully. So after we finish filming today, I'm going to be wrapping this up so that we've got it all ready to gift for Christmas. But we wanted to show you how this turned out. I think we're both really happy with it, and I think it's going to be very well loved where it's given. Okay, the next FFO that we have to share with you is one of mine. So this last summer I stitched Will You Be My Valentine. This is a Thistles chart that I stitched on a piece of 36 count pearl gray Edinburgh linen. And I used all the called for flosses. And so this is how it turned out. Again, really happy with this one. And I used different mounting approaches for these two pieces. So with Gary's piece, I pinned it. And then with this one, I decided to do the lacing approach. With Gary's piece, I had a little bit less fabric up along the top, and so it was not going to be enough to lace with, but I was able to pin pretty easily. And this one, I had plenty of fabric to be able to lace with. But really happy with how it turned out. And this is a frame I got through the other online retailer that I order custom frames through, which is Custom Frame Solutions. Interestingly, for me, with pictureframes.com, I think their interface I find a little bit easier to work with, but as far as actually finding frames that are kind of a little bit more of a variety of what I'm looking for, I tend to find more on Custom Frame Solutions, but they both have a really great selection, and I've had fantastic experiences with both of them, so recommendations for both. But really happy with how this turned out. I'm really excited to be able to put it out in my Valentine's display after the holidays this year. So that's that. All right, so let's talk about the whips we've been working on since the last time we filmed an update. We've got a lot to show you today because it's been a while. So the first thing I'm going to show you is my sampler. I have been working on the Floralia Sampler by Chlorine Designs, and I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Aqua Edinburgh linen. I'm doing this in a monochromatic color palette, so I'm doing all of the stitching is in DMC 3808. And the last time you saw this, I was almost finished with page 2. I just had a little bit left to do. And so I knew I was going to get through page 2 this time. And so this is where, let's see, this is where it is right now. All right. So as you can see, I was able to stitch the rest of the border along the top. So we've got the full width of the piece, and this is a perfectly square design. So we have a good sense of how massive this thing is going to be. And then started stitching the border down the side here. I finished stitching this little cherub who's sitting in a floral swing. One of the things that was different about this time that I stitched on it is I didn't get a chance to mix in as many of the little small motifs that are scattered throughout because I was really focused on finishing off a couple of large motifs. So like I said, this cherub was one of those that I needed to finish. I did almost all of this, I had just barely had a start on this motif the last time, and this is like the big center motif in the design. So got this beautiful vase with the flowers in it. Finished this little motif, did this little guy, and then did this wreath here and got started on the letter M that is in the middle of that. So I'm really happy with the progress. It doesn't probably look like as much progress as I normally would make on this piece, but that's just because where I focused my efforts were on motifs that required a lot of stitching time. And so I'm actually really happy with what I did get accomplished. I'm in a good position to actually get a full, to finish off page 3 the next time this comes up, which is going to be great because then I'll actually be a little bit over 50% done with the project at that point. I think one last thing I want to mention on this piece before I move on to the next one is just in our comments section and with a few of you that I've had the chance to interact with, I know that there are some folks that have some Floralia charts in your stash, and I know there's at least 1 or 2 of you that are looking at starting one next year. And so my just word of advice is the borders look pretty simple and they're not complicated stitching by any means, but my advice would be don't leave it till the end. Those borders are, they're no, those borders are not to be trifled with. There's a lot more stitching in there than you would think there is, and it's really time consuming stitching. And I know if you're not a person who enjoys stitching borders, it can be kind of tedious because it's the same set of stitches over and over again. And so my approach has been, I'll do, like 2 strands of floss in a motif, and then I'll come up and I'll put 1 strand of floss in the border so that I'm constantly adding to it, and it kind of spreads that tedium out a little bit throughout the process. So yeah, my advice would just be find a way to get on that border early, so that you don't leave it all toward the end, because you might be tempted never to finish your piece if all you've got to do is border. But at any rate, this is a gorgeous design. I'm really happy with how it's coming along, and I'm looking forward to hitting that 50% mark the next time it comes up. Okay. The next piece that I worked on was my seasonal design, and I worked on Honey Fields by Filigram, which I'm stitching on a piece of 32 count Chase Scape Lugana by Silk Weaver, and I'm using the DMC conversion. The last time you saw this, it was a brand new start, so I had just gotten like a little bit of the corner and had started working on the borders, and had also just gotten a tiny bit of a start on the beehive. And this time around, let's show you where it is. Here is where I got to. So this design was one that I actually had planned to work on during Thanksgiving week. And in my grand plans, Gary was out of town that week. And so I was like, I won't be cooking. I won't be doing, I'm going to kind of take the week off work, and I'm going to be loungy and lazy. And I had these brilliant, ambitious dreams of finishing this design that week, because I thought, I'm going to have a ton of stitching time. And all of those plans kind of went out the window when when it became clear that I was going to need to be taking care of someone. And so I did not get anywhere near as far as I had wanted to on this, but I still made really good progress during that week when I did have time to stitch. So with this one, I did make it all the way across the top, so the border up here is done, and then started working down this side. I think I'm all the way done with this section of flowers here, and as you can see, I'm very close to finishing off the filling in on this beehive. And so this set of flowers is mirrored over here, the border is mirrored, and then there's just a little bit here along the bottom. So I'm really, really enjoying this when it's come up. It's a lot of fun to work on, and I'm absolutely, the farther I go on it, the happier I am with my fabric choice for it. The chart calls for stitching it on just a neutral beige-ish colored fabric, and I opted to go with this sort of overdyed sky effect fabric, and I think it's just perfect, and it makes it so summery, and so I'm really, really satisfied with how this one is turning out. Oops. Okay, dropped a clip here. All right, the next piece that I worked on was my full coverage, and this I am working on Rose Trellis In by Heaven and Earth Designs. This I am working on a piece of 28 count white Lugana, 2/1 using a combination of continental tent stitch and the half stitch. And the last time you saw this, I had really started to make some good headway into, so there's this kind of turret section of the inn, and there's some, I'm in the kind of like the mid section of that turret, and there's some cornice work and some the bright pink siding, and so I had just kind of started to make some good headway there, and so this is where I am with this right now. I got another couple of diagonals in, so you can see I've finished I'm almost finished with this little roof on this kind of side section that sits on the side of the inn here. Got a good chunk more of the white or the pink siding. I'm almost all the way across the top here of this this pretty kind of like cornice. And then you can see this white window trim and some of the window work here is also starting to show up now. So I'm really pleased with how this one is coming along. Again, I'm now at the part of the design where there's a lot more confetti, and particularly in any place you see where it's white, there is just a ton of confetti, and I find those sections particularly challenging to stitch because it's probably 10 or 15 different shades of whites and grays and pale blues, and some of it's, it's really hard to see because I'm stitching on a white fabric. And so those I find really challenging and just to be really slow stitching areas. So I'm definitely slowing down in the number of stitches I can get done. But I think the impact of the stitching that gets done at this point is a lot higher. So really pleased with where this one is. And I am looking forward to spending some more time on this in the next couple of weeks. All right. The next WIP I'm going to show you is Gary's. So as you all know, Gary is working on Captain America by Awesome Pattern Studio. This is an Etsy shop, and he is stitching this on a piece of 16 count pewter Aida by DMC. So Gary, I don't know if you want to talk about what you're doing here.
Not much. I know that comes out of this mouth a lot with regard to cross stitching, but I really didn't do any work on it until last night, I think. Maybe there was another day I did, but it's been several weeks. And the reason why is because this thing is really challenging. You've got to. It's just it's challenging, and I don't mind a challenge. But this is challenging, right? So, anyway, I put in more purple, filled in the dots down there that were open before, and that's what I did. I'm gonna try to spend at least an hour a day for the next week or so maybe I can get to another color to get some depth in this thing. But we'll see. Yeah, we'll see. That's about all I got on that one.
Yeah. This one, I think, just coming from the perspective of somebody who has been stitching a long time, looking at this chart versus the designs that Gary has stitched so far, this one is definitely a more challenging piece. And so, yeah, I had it was funny because...
It's not ages 4 to 6.
No, no. It was kind of funny because when Gary, he did take this with him when he went to Providence, and I was kind of like, is he going to stitch on it or not? Like, I was like, he's either going to make a lot of progress or he's not even going to touch it. And he ended up not touching it while he was in Providence, which is fine. So anyway, I really like it though. I think it's a cool
Nobody
design.
cross stitches in Providence.
Nobody. Rhode Island stitchers, if you're out there, give us a hey. Okay. And then the last WIP that we have to show you today is my Fancy Lady. As many of you know, as our regular viewers know, I am stitching on Royal Holiday by Mirabilia on a piece of 32 count Laurel linen. And the last time you saw this is actually going to look like a lot of progress because I've had about 1.5 rotations on this. In the last, since the last time you saw it. So I've made a little bit more progress than normal. We have a little visitor here. Yeah, so the last time you saw this, the woman is sitting there in her beautiful gown and she has this bright, gorgeous red cloak that kind of wraps around her left side in the foreground. And I had just started to stitch like the corner bottom of that piece, but I hadn't made much progress on it. And so this is where she is right now. So she's really starting to show her progress. As you can see, I've gotten like a nice big chunk of more of this cloak and these ribbons up and through here. I'm getting very close to the point where her dress is going to be totally finished. And then a really nice chunk of her cloak down here has also been finished. So she's really, really coming along. She's really, really looking good. And it's been really fun. I've been working on her this past week, and I've really enjoyed. I think just because of the way my rotation works, I don't always end up getting to do seasonal stitching in the season that is applicable for where I'm stitching. And so for me, it was really fun to it's been fun to actually be working on a Christmas design during the Christmas season. So yeah, I really, really love her, and I'm excited with how she's coming along. There's still quite a bit left to do on her, but it feels like I'm getting closer and closer to the end. So really, really good. The other thing I want to mention about this is that this design I am stitching along with several other lovely ladies. So I have been stitching this from the beginning with Sarah. She is Stitch Addict on Instagram, and she is just making great progress on this. And then we are also stitching this with Lynn, the Lancashire Stitcher, which is really fun to see. She's working on this once a week, and so it's really fun to see how quickly she's getting progress on this as well. And then we were recently joined by Nancy Duquette. And so our little hashtag of stitchers who are working on this piece is definitely growing. So if you'd like to join us, feel free to use the hashtag. It's USNZ Royal Holiday Sow. And we are, I find it really fun just to see what everybody's doing and how they're making progress and to cheer everybody on. Okay. Let's see. That's that for the stitching. So let's take a few minutes and talk about haul. So as I mentioned earlier, I did have a birthday in the last couple of weeks, and I did get spoiled with some wonderful stitchy goodness. So wanted to share that with you. So the first thing, I don't buy a lot of project bags. I don't get a lot of project bags just because I don't need them, because I don't have a lot of projects that I've got going at any one time. But this, I was so excited. Gary got this for me. This gorgeous quilted project bag. As you can see, it's got the vinyl front and then beautiful fabric on the back, and a great little charm here. Really great quality, really beautifully stitched or sewn. And this is by Sherry So Sweet on Etsy. I'll include a link to her shop in the description box. But I was so excited when I got this from Gary on my birthday, because I had seen this and I fell in love with it on Etsy, and so I was super excited that he got it for me. So there was that. And then I got a couple of lovely charts. So Gary treated me to Rest a While by Plum Street Samplers and to Always Remember, two beautiful ones that were on my wish list. And then my parents spoiled me with 1,000 Hills by Plum Street Samplers. This is one that I had put on my wish list. I want to stitch this in memory of my grandma. Someday I'll tell you the story of why this chart reminds me of her. But I was really, really happy when they got this for me, because it's got special meaning, and I will stitch it in memory of her. And then they also got me Daisy by Rovaris, which is going to be a really fun quick stitch, I think, and it comes with the Daisy charm, so that'll be really fun. And then what birthday would be complete without spoiling yourself a little bit for your birthday? So I got myself a little bit of birthday goodness as well. So I bought myself a project bag too, and this is from Gamma's Treasures. Also an Etsy shop. Also will include a link in the description box. But I thought this beautiful quilty style fabric was just lovely. Again, really, really great quality. And this one came with a thread bed that's got the magnet that's embedded underneath the little tag here. So super, super cute. Really looking forward to using both of these beautiful project bags. Again, both of them really great quality. And then finally, I got myself a new chart. This is Christmas Cheer Pin Pillows by Jeanette Douglas Designs. This is an Evertotes exclusive. Again, I'll include a link to the Evertotes shop in the description box. But I saw this posted on Instagram, and I was like, I must have it. I must have it immediately. I just completely fell in love. And I am fairly certain these have kind of taken over my plans for my travel stitching for next year. And I will probably be trying to work on these throughout the year next year, because I absolutely love them. They've got this sort of vintage feel that takes me back to what Christmas looked like in my childhood, and I love them. Okay, so next thing on our list is to talk about our giveaway. If you remember in our last video, we received some wonderful gifts from our friend Rebecca, and she had said that we could keep some and give some away if we wanted to. And so we picked a couple of things that we wanted to share with all of you in the spirit of the season. So we're going to be giving away a gorgeous chart by the Cricut Collection, and I'm so sorry I forgot to grab it. But a beautiful chart by the Cricut Collection and a pretty needle minder that Rebecca made. I'm also going to throw in a couple of extra goodies when this goes out. And we had asked you guys to tell us what kind of stitcher you are within kind of 3 buckets. And so if you saw that video, you'll remember that I've got 3 kind of categories that I put stitchers into. There are what I call promiscuous stitchers, which are people who have like 10 or more whips. And then there's monogamous stitchers, who are the people who just stitch one thing at a time. And then polygamous stitchers, which is that little group of us that kind of have more than one whip, but not like a lot of whips. And so I had asked you to tell me which of those kind of stitchers you are. And it was so much fun reading all of your comments and hearing how debauched some of you are and how many whips some of you have, and sharing in the recognition that we are all very bad at enabling each other and very bad influences on one another's self-control when it comes to starting new projects. But we used the random comment generator to find our winner, and today's winner is Susan Resnick. Susan is one of our regular viewers and commenters, so it's really exciting to see somebody whose name we recognize that won. So congratulations, Susan. And Susan is a monogamous stitcher, and only works on one thing at a time because she's got multiple different things that she crafts: quilting, knitting, crocheting, all those things. So she's trying to make sure that she doesn't get too many things started so that her whip pile doesn't get out of control. One of the things that I really appreciated that Susan said also is that she tends to work on cross stitches or designs that have a specific place in her home or that she can see, and that's exactly how I approach my choices for stitching as well. So congratulations, Susan. Please give me, or I'll leave a comment on your comment. And please, if you would send me an email to globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com, send me an email with your address and we will get that out in the mail to you. So we will wrap up today by telling you quickly what we're going to be working on between now and the next time we film. I am going to spend a week working on my honey fields by Filigram, and looking forward to seeing how far I can get on that. I am also going to be working on Rose Trellis In again, so we'll see what happens there. And then I'm hoping to actually get some time on my travel stitching. If you were paying close attention, you'd have probably noticed that I didn't show you an update on travel stitching and whips because I haven't been working on it. It's just I haven't had the opportunity. So I'm hoping the next couple of weeks will provide some time for that, and we'll have some progress to share with you. Gary is going to continue to plug away on Captain America, so we'll kind of see what happens there with that. So with all of that said, from Gary and me and Bear and Sophie to all of you, we hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. We hope that it's healthy and safe for you and your loved ones. And we will see you again in the new year. I'm already working on my plans for next year, so very much looking forward to starting a lot of beautiful new things in the year to come. So just wrapping up quickly, if you like our videos, we hope that you'll give us a thumbs up and subscribe. You can click the little bell to get notified when we do post new updates. We enjoy all of your comments and the opportunity to interact with you, so please do leave a comment. And you can always email me at globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram between videos to see progress updates. I'm globetrotting_stitcher. So once again, thank you for coming to spend time with us. Happy holidays to you and yours. We will see you very soon. Bye-bye.